everyone and welcome back to my channel. In today's video I'm going to be doing a review and first impressions of the Reeves gouache paints. I've got this set of 24 colours and I thought that I would just try them out, see how I get on with them and let you know what I think so that you can decide if this is something that you want to buy. So this is what the paints look like. As I said, the set has a total of 24 colours and each one is 12 mils in size. So here's the first 12 colours. And these are the other 12. The first thing I did was to put some of each paint into this palette. Unfortunately, my palette didn't have 24 wells, so I just put the last 4 colours into the 2 mixing trays at the bottom of the palette so that I could access all the colours. Then what I did was I made myself a little colour guide. I just used some of the paper that I was planning to paint on so that I could see what each of the paints would look like when I used it. This was the first piece that I painted using my Reeves gouache paints. I didn't film myself when I was doing this, but I decided to just paint some very simple Christmas images, and I've turned this into a pattern which is on my Society 6 store if you want to check that out. The link to my shop will be in the description box below. So I painted a candy cane, a Christmas decoration, a stocking with a snowman on it, and a Santa hat. I felt like the images turned out well, the paint worked better than I expected. The only negative that I came across is that the white paint didn't seem to be very opaque, so that made it a bit tricky to add highlights and I needed to build up quite a few layers if I was using white on top of the other colours. This was the paper that I used for that painting and for the demonstration which is coming up. It was just a medium surface cartridge pad from Winsor & Newton and it's 220 GSM. For the demonstration, I wanted to be able to use a variety of different colours to test as many of the paints as possible. So I sketched out a few ideas and I decided to do a pumpkin, a couple of trees and a butterfly. So this is just the time lapse of me painting the different images, and I actually recorded this over a couple of days, so I had to reactivate my gouache with water in the middle of it, and it still worked absolutely fine even after they had completely dried out in the palette. If you don't know what gouache is, it's kind of a mix between watercolour and acrylic. It can be used in a very opaque way like acrylics and it dries to a matte finish, but you can reactivate the paint with water the same way that you can with watercolours. And this is true of the paint both in your palette and on the paper that you're painting on. You don't have to use it opaque, you can also use it in thin washes similar to watercolour, and I found that I generally preferred using it in this way. One advantage to the Reeves paints is that they're quite inexpensive, so that means that for the cost of 1 or 2 artist quality tubes you can get an entire set of 24 Reeves colours. Now these might not be quite the same quality, but if you just want to try out a new medium without investing too much money, then they're great for experimenting, seeing how the paint works, whether it's the sort of material that you want to work with more, and then you can gradually add more tubes of higher quality paints one at a time into your collection. As I said, I noticed that the white paint didn't seem to be quite opaque enough, so what I can do is go out and buy a single tube of white gouache and use that with the Reeves paints. And then gradually I can replace other colours as I need to with artist quality paint. Artist quality materials are great for producing finished pieces that you want to sell, but for general practice, experimenting and trying out new ideas, then cheaper art materials can be fantastic, and you don't need to worry about wasting your expensive artist quality materials when you're just starting out. So I found the colours of the Reeves paints to be really good. They were nice and bold. I could apply the paint in a thick opaque way and as a thin wash. I liked building up lots of thin layers one on top of another to create new colours. One thing that you do need to know about gouache paints is that because they can be reactivated with water, you need to be careful when applying layers or when you put one colour immediately next to another, because you might accidentally mix the colours together and that can make your colours look muddy. You just need to be constantly aware of this, allow your layers to dry before painting on top of them, and apply the paint using very light brush strokes. Of course, you can use gouache as a kind of wet and wet technique, the same way as you would with watercolour. It just depends on what kind of effect you're looking for. Overall, I would say this is a good set to buy if you want to try gouache for the first time. If you don't want or feel that you need 24 tubes, then Reeves also does a 12 tube set of gouache paints. The biggest advantage to having a larger set is that you don't need to do much colour mixing, and in fact I don't think that I did any colour mixing for this painting. I just used layering to create the different colours. Now, this is just to show that you can use the paints in a very opaque way and as a wash. So first I'm applying this lovely red colour as a completely opaque patch, and then I'm just going to use the same colour and apply it as a much thinner wash of colour. So that's just my first impressions of the Reeves gouache paints. If you've tried them, I'd love to know what you think of them. If you liked the video, then please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel if you want to see more from me, and I'll see you again soon.